This conference will now be recorded.
Close it out for a second. All right, so we will start the meeting. I left my hammer running. So we'll do the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll get the hammer on.
Yeah.
All right. First item, as usual, public comment.
Okay.
Hi there, Jim Overheiser, Chairman of OHPC. And we decided to show up tonight because this is the issue with the sign in front of the American Legion. And in June, we denied the sign that they proposed to put up at the time and offered to negotiate with them at the time. And that went to code, so that project was stopped. And we became aware maybe 2 weeks ago now that they were going forward with the project. I sent a message to you, Mike. I talked to Fred Ulrich, right?
Yep.
And there was a stop work order put on that, so we understand all of that. In our OHPC meeting, the first Thursday this month, we were informed that they were petitioning to try to go around the law. And so Nadine and I are here really just to support the process that we've already been through. They've been denied to go forward, and I think they've been made aware of the ramifications if they were to continue, and so on. And to allow you, if there are questions that you want of us, so that if they do come forward, you'll be a little bit more informed. Okay, all right?
Yeah, that sounds good. I was the chair, Nadine Bigsby, only member of the HPC. But, I was the chair at the time when this application came forward. And actually it was reported to you on June 21st, 2021, when or Laura, I think I sent to Laura when we gave our report. You know, I do about quarterly, and it was noted along with about, I don't know, 7 or 8 other applications. It was the only one that we denied, and the explanation of it too. And so this will be brief. I mean, we're here to just remind all of us that we do our best to follow the law, you know, and that's what we're sworn to do. We take the same oath that you do. So in our chapter 126, in the very first paragraph, it authorizes us to make decisions about signs. There's a whole list of stuff, and signs are explicitly, you know, stated on that. And then in our guidelines, which are based upon the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines, we didn't just make it up. We have very specific directions about the kinds of signs that we do not allow in the historic district. I think the best way for me to explain it to you in plain language was just read a paragraph from the cover letter that I sent to, at the time, the American Legion, to explain, even though they came in person and we had Steve DeVerney came in person and we had a good discussion about it. And so we explained, I said, last night the commission voted to, and this is June 18th, 2021. Last night the commission voted to deny the Legion's application for the electronic billboard based upon the guidelines set forth in Chapter 126 of the Village Code and the OHPC design guidelines for signs. Both of these documents are based upon guidelines set forth by the Secretary of Interior standards as required. We are charged with following a principle of compatibility during our review process. New construction, such as an electronic billboard, must have visual compatibility with surrounding properties in the historic district. Village Code instructs us to consider the health, safety, and general welfare of the community, the property values of the area, and the historic character of the neighborhood, among many other factors. OHPC guidelines do not recommend the approval of digital signs with flashing, intermittent, rotating, moving lights, unshielded light fixtures, or mirrors. So OHPC supports the mission of the American Legion as witnessed in the March 13, 2020 collaboration where we went through the installation of the handicapped accessible lift on the south elevation, the front entrance to the building. We're not opposed to the American Legion installing a new sign on its front lawn. There are many beautiful and creative signs that we could approve that would meet with your purposes and abide by our regulations. We recommend you consult with your contractor and create a new sign to submit for us to review. The OHPC is sympathetic to the generous offer from your donor to provide funding for a new American Legion sign to be erected in the memory of her loved one. We honor this gesture and would be happy to work with anyone involved to achieve a satisfactory design and installation. Please do not hesitate to contact us regarding questions about this project as you move forward. So we anticipated that they would come back and that we would work out something with them. We worked out something with the Veterans of Foreign, VFW, the Veterans of Foreign War. They did an excellent job of working with us, and we worked with the contractor. Now we don't really address it, but we do inform people when we're aware of a zoning issue. They are in a different commercial zoning situation. The American Legion is in R2. They are in a residential neighborhood. So theoretically, even if we approve the sign, I don't think zoning would give a variance for that individual property. And they were informed, we had this discussion and they were informed about this over a year ago. The question was asked to us, what will you do if we put it up anyway? And I kind of anticipated that, and so I was very careful with my language, and I said, we will follow the law. You know, I did not say, we're gonna make you tear it down. I did not, we don't wanna go to war with the American Legion, certainly. But we wanna be good neighbors, and I always assume that they wanna be good neighbors too. Right now, it looks like they began some installation, which was, that was noticeable that we got phone calls about. And that was where we asked them to stop work order so that they could begin the appropriate procedure for getting the appropriate permits, just like everybody else would do. And that means going through us first, and then getting a building permit, and then for code, there's a separate sign permit for that. And then they would have to address a zoning issue. So it's not just the OHPC, it's our whole village, application process for these things. And it's all about being good neighbors, and it's all about following directions. So I feel, right now, we feel that if this is that sign, which we have not been seen an application, we've been told that it's a digital sign, that we have not permitted it. And so we just wanted to inform you of what's been going on and what our response was and why we made the decision that we did. So if you get calls from some of your constituents, you might be better informed for that. And we heard that they might be trying to, go around and get a petition and then come and circumnavigate the application and the process and come directly to you to make the decision. And so we would encourage you to support the work of code and to support our work and to support the law, the village law. So if you have any questions or clarifications that you'd like us to make, we'd be happy to do that.
I don't have any right now. But you said they would need a variance from the zoning board because it's in
R2. Yeah.
And then they would need approval from the state DOT too, because they're not cited DOT.
We had decided that we would, if they had that big white, that kind of sign with the arrow, and which was internally lit, and we said that if they decided to put something similar to the VFW, I think we could live with that. That's a nice looking sign. It would, but they really want to put up that sign similar to one of the Boys and Girls Club.
The other difficulty is they bought the sign,
Yeah.
and then they came for approval. And I talked to John Pitko, who got the sign from them, just to make sure it was, what kind of sign it was, because it's been covered. And he absolutely confirmed that it's the same thing that the Boys and Girls Club has in front of it. It's the electronic and moving. And John even said that when most people first get these signs, they realize all the toys that you can do, and there's fireworks firing off. They'll announce a pancake breakfast with fireworks and scrolling things, and he says and there's a lot of light to it. They're very bright.
The VFW has a timer. They turn their sign off at like 9 o'clock. If you drive through town, the internally lit sign, they were very cognizant of that, even though they're more it's a good neighbor thing. There are people that live in the apartments up above and children that are going to sleep and things like that. And they were, the thing is, a year ago, we had this conversation and basically told them that if that sign would not be allowed. And so they went ahead, it sounds like, and purchased it anyway. So this is not the place that we wanted to be at with them, but here we are.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't all this fall on code and zoning right now? I mean, I love the
Yeah.
informative part, but right now, there is absolutely nothing we can
In
do.
order to get, yes, absolutely, in order to get, in the historic district, in order to get a building permit, they have to go through us
Right.
first. So we're kind of the first hoop, to go
Right.
through. And if we can't approve it, then we don't get a permit. And
Right.
so-
I mean, but at the end of these, it's place, like, code would be the first line.
Well, now it's a
Here is
different
your-
story because there has been some work done. They installed some, they dug some holes and did some construction before even NICEAG, they finally got that, they kind of got it backwards and they finally did that right. So it's a different problem now because the work started and we asked them to stop it. So it does become kind of more of a code thing.
The thing that triggered it, the exact work, just for the data, just for the record, is they dug the holes and put the sonotubes in ready for concreting the posts. And those are there, the post and the sign are sitting right next to it. They were ready to go. And we actually received phone calls from neighbors and passersby that said, I thought you guys didn't approve the sign. So that's what's been done. And I think, Fred, you've been over there.
Yep.
To see it and put a sign on, right on the sign, right?
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
work order right on the sign. So they know.
And they responded to that.
I had a meeting with Steve and Ed about it,
Oh, good.
and I told them that they couldn't do it until they got approved.
So we're kind of stuck.
Okay.
Well, let me get this right. Nadine, you sent them a letter last spring
Yes, June.
saying to come back to you with another sign?
Yes, since it was the cover letter that
And
went
they
with
did
the,
not
that
come
went
back
with
to
the denial. It was the cover letter that explained to them in writing so he could share it with everybody at the Legion board. In our words, with my signature, why we had, what was the basis of our denial. It wasn't just because we kind of waved a magic wand and said we don't like it, it was based on the law. And in that letter, which I read to you, I said, please come back to us. We are willing to work with you. I'm sure there are many designs of signs and because anything that would be an improvement of replacing that old sign that they had out front, I mean, we were in favor of that. We understand this is a very important patriotic veterans group and we do support them. And we understand that they have fundraisers and they have things that they said they would like to help promote in the village. And so, we will.
They're just kind of stuck because they bought the sign and then just started the
Yeah.
process. So they're looking for a way out.
Just so you know that they didn't buy the sign.
They would donate it.
Yes,
Donate
and
it.
before they didn't, before they came due, it was already donated to them.
Yeah. That's right. That's a good correction.
So,
That's it. We just came in case you had questions on that, just keep it informed.
so we're available, anytime that you need any more clarification.
I'm sure we'll be in touch with code and zoning. They
Yeah.
like to keep us informed as to what is going on.
Yeah.
But we don't generally marionette what they do.
Right.
They need their own freedom to do their job.
We have a lot of work, a lot of people come to us with all kinds of applications and we work, and sometimes it gets sticky and we have to postpone approving something and we talk to somebody again and the contractor and they come back. It works out. I mean, that's the way we like to do it. We like to work with people and say, what is it that you want to do? And here's our guidelines. And certainly there's a place where we can meet, in between here. And it usually does work. Actually, it does work. It's very rare that we delay anything.
Thanks.
Okay,
And you,
all right, so we're still on public comment. Any other?
Yeah, about the Legion sign. I'm not sure where you're getting the information from, that we're just gonna go ahead and put it up. Spoke to legal counsel, and she told us how to go about it, and that's exactly how we plan on doing it. don't know if anybody, everyone understands that this is advantageous to everybody in the village. Downtown businesses, OHPC, historic marketplace. I understand that, I believe Jim had spoken to John, and John explained what it was. Somehow, somebody said it was gonna be a 9-foot high sign. I don't know where that came from. But I can meet you afterwards, Jim, I'll show you exactly how big the sign is. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, but we gotta make sure we get all the facts right and not go off just talking to 1 or 2 people. I still don't know who made the complaint that gave us a stop work order. I think I should be able to know who that was. Because we were told multiple people, and I've not heard one person say that they don't want it up. But we do have, I do have an email from our legal counsel on how to go about it, and we're gonna go that route with it. But again, I think everybody needs to work together on this and think what's best for the village. I mean, you got our veterans are here, you're putting the kibosh to the veterans. And, there's nothing wrong with putting a nice looking sign out there. Nothing wrong with it at all. And the fact that we bought it, the money was donated to us by the wife of the DOT worker that was killed on the highway because he was a member there. She gave us some money for it and we purchased it. Obviously because we figured that there would be no problems. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted an electronic sign. And she was giving us the money for it. We're certainly not gonna turn it down. I'm sure if somebody came up and gave you guys $20,000 for it, you wouldn't turn it down. And if we're not allowed to put it up, what are we gonna do with a $20,000 sign? Exactly. There's only one American Legion Post 401 around the area that I know of, and that's right over there. And the Legion does a lot for the community, and I think it would just be a travesty not to allow us to do that. But again, we'll go through OHPC, because when I met with them last June, they already had their mind made up. Because there's an email from May saying that they weren't gonna approve it. So they already had their mind made up without listening to anything about it. I guess that's all. I won't go off on a tangent.
I guess I would just recommend that your legal contact Nate, our legal.
I have a hard time hearing.
But I would just recommend that your legal contact our legal, just to make sure everybody's on the same page.
My understanding is she did contact village attorney,
Okay.
what she told me today.
He's online. Nate, did that happen?
There you go.
There you go.
Yes, Mayor, I talked with you about that on Thursday.
Yeah.
She and I spoke, we communicated about the issue. She and I are, I think, on the same page about the path that the Legion would need to follow in order to move forward with an application again. So it'll just depend on exactly what the Legion ends up doing.
I don't know when you meet again, but obviously
It's usually this first Thursday.
First Thursday of every month, so.
What is it?
September 4th, is it? The first Thursday of September?
I'm sorry, Jimmy.
September 4th, I'm sorry, September 4th, I think that's the first Thursday,
First
check a calendar. Ron, is that the 4th?
8th.
8th.
September 8th.
That's close.
It's 7 o'clock here.
Right here.
The math doesn't work.
It would be the first, wouldn't it?
It would be the first, if you can't do the 8th, it would have been the first.
First Thursday will be September 1st.
Oh, you're right, look at that. Sorry, it's sooner for you, September 1st.
September 1st.
September 1st.
It's a week earlier for you.
Now, how long before we have to get to, I have to get a hold of Meg to get on the agenda? Juke, is that right?
I would do that pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because that gives you 2 weeks, so.
All right. What day is this? Is that a Thursday?
Yeah,
It's a Thursday, yeah.
Thursday, September 1st,
Have you meet here?
7 o'clock.
Yep, right here.
Perfect. Okay, good, thank you.
All right, anything else?
No, that's good, I guess, for now.
Okay. Any other public comment? We'll do department head reports, we'll do, Joe. We'll see.
Go ahead, I went last time.
Oh,
I
great.
went last time.
Well, we're still doing patchwork in the village. I do have good news. George Street, Hill, and Spruce, and 2 spots of Caucus Street will start being milled Friday. So everybody, especially the night deputies and stuff, I told Rudy about it for you. So that's gonna take place. Just like I said, then trying to clean up the outback, trying to get rid of all these piles. It's been here forever.
I'll put a thing online, a code red,
It allows them to talk to you about
remind
that.
me like a couple times.
Really? Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
He's older?
Wait till he gets
Oh,
older.
yeah, wait, yeah, no doubt.
I was still waiting for reports last week.
Here you go, all yours.
That's why I smiled. I'll try to keep mine short and sweet. So far, about 75 EMS calls for the month. We did a bunch of miscellaneous things like National Night Out, EMS demo for a local daycare, fair coverage, 7 patient contacts with the fair coverage. We had 3 ambulances out on Tuesday, August 10th with 3 calls. Administration, insurance updates, and vehicles as listed before. 32 has the power lift installed, that's working well. And 33, we found a cracked windshield from probably a stone hit. We didn't see it until the next morning, but insurance replacement is on Saturday, August 20th.
Anybody have anything for EMS or DPW?
I'm assuming you weren't participating in the professional wrestling match?
I was not participating, I was sitting there in my chair.
You sat there through that?
Well, yeah, they wanted an ambulance.
Boy.
Here, I'll show you the picture of my partner sitting there reading a book. But,
I think I might see that one.
so boring.
Oh, bet. I bet.
Any quick executive session, do we do that now, or?
Yeah, we can. Somebody else is around. Or should we do the sweeper thing? Maybe. The shared services agreement for the street sweeper, have we got anything besides that 2-page thing?
I did get a draft contract, and I'm not sure if it's the 2 pages or not. And so I can look that up. I did have some minor revisions to it. I know the town of Owego attorney had some revisions to it also. So I have not seen an updated draft of it. So if you wanted to approve it tonight, I think you could, just leaving it subject to attorney approval to iron out the last pieces of it. Overall, nobody has any issues with it, I think. At least that's my understanding. Unless, of course, you tell me today you all have problems with it.
Might, our problem might be with how much we're supposed to pay.
There's nothing said that what we're paying yet.
Right. There's nothing really
That's my
saying.
problem.
who's supposed to pay what. I mean, kind of vaguely on that second page or back page says, you know, if they send it, we're supposed to pay the operator's time or something like that.
I think the town will, I don't think we're paying that, nothing's ever been really said. The meeting that I was in, hardly anybody was there, so I kind of really know nothing about the numbers. I mean, I just don't know the good way of going about that, but the town of Owego was not charging out the hours of their workers. He was more, Mr. Roberts was more worried about for parts and stuff like that is what he's talking about. And my theory is, and I talked to Rod about this, is that we need to know a number to budget per year. We just can't keep coming up with a number and not have that budget in our budget. So, and I haven't heard anything more because we haven't had another meeting or anything about it, so I really don't know. The only thing I really said was the registration that we, the three towns would pitch in because of the Nichols wasn't going to do it because she got the grant. That's the only one I verbally we talked about. But how we decide on who pays what, that's been very vague.
I guess they figure we pay more because we'll have it the majority of the time.
No, we won't have it. No, we'll have it less.
Much bigger.
The only time it's just for the streets. The town of Owego and the county will be using it for septic systems. They can be, or the drain systems, they can use it for anything.
I read it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way I understand it, and you're right, you know, it doesn't really lay out fully the split. And that was one of the questions that I had back to the attorney group that I was on, and I just haven't seen fully those details. I guess I assumed that had already been negotiated and whoever put it initially together just hadn't put the numbers in. But it sounds like that's not the case. So, you know, I would say, don't approve it tonight. And, you know, we need to get these questions answered.
Correct.
Enough details.
So I say we table that until we have more definition on it.
But do you agree, Nate, that that's something we should have like a dollar amount per year so we can budget it?
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think, debt service on this thing for 10 years. That was the term of the agreement that the town attorney had proposed. And so whatever the annual cost of that is a known figure. And so that should be budgeted, at least whatever your portion of that is.
Right, I just don't want Gary Hammond of town or the county, he was talking that he wanted to pay the lease because he put the least amount of money in it between the three other towns. Because the village and the town of Owego spent the most on it. And he wanted to be, but my theory is that you're gonna be using it most times. So it's fair to the village if we're only using it as a sweeper.
Yeah, we don't need to have the conversation now. Let's connect, you know, this week or next and you and I talk through logically what makes, you know, what's the village's position, what makes sense, right? And then we can work on that with everybody else.
Okay.
Like Ron said, we should have those all sorted out before we bought the thing.
I agree 100%. That's what I was looking for.
That was before you.
Yeah, no.
All right.
You can blame it on me, I don't care. I'm just trying to save money.
All right, so probably that, I guess.
Okay.
You wanna do an executive session?
Now we need 2 minutes.
If they get somebody to make a motion, what's it on?
It is on SRO.
Well,
Personnel.
however Nate wants
I
it,
guess personnel.
however Nate wants to word that.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for SRO discussion,
I second that.
Attorney-client session.
attorney-client.
All right. Is that a good enough definition, Nate, attorney-client?
So I think, Chief, it's matters relating to, I think, employment of people in one sense. There's a few. reasons. I think you've identified it fine, but I think it's employment issues and an attorney-client issue. Attorney-client advice.
And that, so employment and client advice.
Totally what you said.
Matters relating to the appointment of a particular person to be employed by the police department and attorney-client advice.
Perfect. We'll put that in minutes. Rusty?
Vote.
Yes.
Yes. Laura?
Yeah.
Yes, you're answering to your name or your?
What do you say?
Yes.
Okay, Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
How about if we go out and you guys should do that? I can talk to Nick.
That doesn't work. They don't just call me in the other room, it's fine. Very neat. Call myself.
Call myself. Okay.
That's the first time I've seen the DeMarco brothers together.
I'm gonna hang up on you, Nate. Close it. Nate already hung up on me. Okay, we're good. You still there, Nate?
Yep.
Where's the door stopper that's supposed to be used for the door stopper? Instead of the pink hands.
Yep.
I always forget they're there.
Are you seeing things again? I don't know what you're
In the-
talking about.
In the podium.
In the podium. There's nothing on the floor over there.
Just came out of left field.
Yeah.
Are they fire doors? You can't technically pop them open then. It's against code.
Oh,
They are.
Just get nailed at the school all the time for that.
Makes it so unwelcome when they're closed. I think you're probably not supposed to have a problem, but we're here, there's a fire alarm closing.
I know I walked
It's
out,
like with-
got my truck, I'm like, boy, it got a little chilly. So
Right,
I might need a jacket.
You gotta watch the fires out there.
You know, the other night in my house, I was mowing in short sleeves and shorts, and
I don't do that.
I got them all.
Do you know how to work?
I'm hoping this little bit of rain turn my grass green.
what rain? We in rain?
Some sprinkles on?
It rained earlier.
My grass is like dead.
Oh, wait, it's so cold.
If I don't mow soon, code be knocking on my door.
You know, it's bale hay to get in trouble.
All right, so we're back. So, Roger, just.
Was you authorized to do that?
Got our time logged out? 7:52. 7:50.
Any action?
Do we have to repeat the
Oh,
proposal?
what do you got?
I did a bunch of stuff. What do you want to start with? The SRO stuff, you want to start with?
Yep.
So I was approached by the school board to see if we could provide the two Owego School District elementary schools with SROs. We already provide one, obviously, for the high school. And after the last couple shootings, they decided that they would like to have the other schools covered by police officers. They're offering us, I told them what it would cost me, they're offering us $50,000 per officer to cover the officer and other expenses that go along with it, insurance, uniforms, et cetera. I'm looking to hire retired police officers that will not need benefits or pensions from the village. And so their whole entire amount will be covered by the money that the school board is offering us. You guys want to go from there, or?
I guess, I mean, we have a current contract with the school district.
We do have a-
Provide one.
We do, and that one officer does currently go to the other schools, but he's obviously can't be three places at once. So
So we have to amend that to
we would,
three
yes,
different basically.
yes, and the one at the high school would be getting a raise. No, they would all be brought to $42,000 for their pay, which leaves us $8,000 for the other things. And the school also is purchasing two vehicles so that we can have them marked as police cars for the officers so that they're visible to schools.
So I guess you're looking for approval.
I am looking for approval to hire two.
Well, two.
The one school district is out of our immediate jurisdiction, but as police officers, we have jurisdiction in New York State, throughout New York State for misdemeanors and felonies. If an officer is with his family in Vestal watching a movie and something happened and they actually are acting as a police officer for the village of Owego at that time, so liability issues, we have liability no matter what.
And currently our contract's with the school district, so.
Correct.
Not with the specific school that's in the jurisdiction.
Yes.
And we are the only option that they have right now for that.
I'm gonna move that we approve the hiring of 2 extra SOR officers per the recommendation of the Owego School District, or the contract.
And I'd say amend the contract to
Amend the contract to include these 2 extra officers.
Can't second that.
in the new terms of $50,000 per officer.
Per the terms previously spoken about.
Well, one question I had is, as far as the ownership of the,
True, you did. Sorry, Fran.
once it's a motion, you can.
No, we have to second the motion.
Oh, yeah, you was just asking.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. That, it would be better for the village if the school district owned the vehicles that they bought rather than having it registered to the village. Because then the school is liable for the care and maintenance of those vehicles.
I would agree. That would financially be better for us. So we'll have to work that out with the school.
Right.
I can't imagine they have a problem with that. I mean, that's small potatoes.
Yeah. Especially if it's just being used, it's not being used to chase criminals to the village.
So the only benefit for us if it changed in a different way, if let's say we purchase them and they reimburse them, they would be the village's cars at that point. So we have 2 free cars that can be
We can use them for whatever.
readily used. So there's that option also. And again, I haven't worked out those details with the school yet, but just that they're willing to purchase them for us, whether they reimburse us or give us the money. I think at this point, they're looking to purchase them, but again, we haven't worked out those details.
So I guess we're not hammering out that yet.
Right.
Now we're just hammering out the officers.
Questions on those, the details and the policy about it in general. So the school board contacted you, but I haven't heard publicly about about that from the school board. So do you remember when that was like public information that they wanted to hire?
I do not. Corey Green contacted me much earlier in the year. There was a gap for 2 months probably because the county was looking into being able to fund that program. That is not happening now, to my understanding. So I don't know when they did it, but I know Mike stated earlier that residents were given letters saying that they were gonna do that. So I'm assuming that it went out to the public, or if they had board meeting.
There was multiple situations during the year where they used more of our police officers than one
Yes.
to be at the school, like whole days, when stuff was going on. And they would routinely, as a parent of a kid at the school, send out a note saying, hey, everybody's gonna be safe, we have extra security, you know.
I do understand Laura's point though. I mean, we all pay school taxes,
Oh, yeah.
so we all should be informed. I mean, even though my child is 28, I still pay taxes to this district.
Right, well, their information will go out at a school board meeting, so if you're not at the meeting, or, I don't know, I haven't been to a school board meeting, I don't.
And it very well may have been in the budget, I don't know.
That I don't know, because there was a 0 increase, so it just
Right.
got approved. Which is its own issue next year.
Right.
And then if the school can hire, if the school decided that they were going to hire officers or security, they aren't exactly limited to the sheriff or our department. They could have outside security.
They could, that probably is an option to them to have security officers, not
Yeah.
officers, but armed security of some sort, yes.
Yeah.
Like a room security guy.
Right, well, it wouldn't be room security, that'd be somebody would have, in Broome County, there's some company that does that, I don't know who they are, but.
there's online, you can get like school resource officer training. There's some sort of school where you can go and get trained to become a.
Yeah, I don't know, for
the extra
for non-police officers, there wouldn't be any training for that.
Yeah, it is for just regular officers or
Right.
so, yeah. But so nationally, the statistics are like, it's like 42% of schools have a school resource officer at least one time in a week that they're visit a school. So, and in our county, we would be the first to have one in a elementary school. And across New York State, it's not really prevalent for school resource officers to be in schools here. And I kind of have like, I don't like the feeling of having a police state in the elementary schools. I feel like
You can explain that to the parents of you all.
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
I know it's a.
That's the world we live in now.
Sorry, not my
Wants to have a
place to-
full-time officer.
I hear you guys.
Sorry.
But let me just talk a little bit more. I feel like the doors are locked and we have trained people there. There's guidance counselors, principals, the hall monitors, all the people who are trained in de-escalation of the bullying and the things that are.
Automatic rifles on there.
And they had all those,
Right.
and they had all those people involved.
Locks fail.
Policemen are not gonna
People
deal with the
forget to
typical bully in
lock.
the school. There's the school's job, the counselor's job.
Somebody's hell bent on destruction, they're gonna get in any place, whether it's a Walmart
It's not as
or
hard as you think it
elementary
is.
school.
This, obviously, the decision's not up to me, so you guys have to figure that out. I'm just saying, it was brought to me, those are, we can fill the positions. I've already
It's gonna be no cost to us.
checked, and there's no cost to us.
Anything that's for the safety of the children and well-being and mental state of parents, whose kids are in school, I'm all for it. That's the world we live in. I mean, what else can we do? Nothing else is working.
It's unfortunate, yeah, I would much rather err on the side of caution than
Then,
not do it and really regret it.
yeah,
Because there's that moral responsibility that we have.
right.
Well, I wasn't done talking yet. So, having an officer, like currently in the high school, in the middle school, they are only there like once a week or so, or visiting here and there. It's not a person who's there just guarding the door, waiting for these things to happen and
I believe that's how it works.
solving these bullying problems in the school. This is not for de-escalation, you said. This was just for them
In
not
the
to.
school that's out of our jurisdiction, no, my position is that it's there to stop the threat. A threat from someone with a gun, someone with a car, someone with a club, someone with a knife. That's not to separate kindergartners on the playground or deal with the bullying. The school's been dealing with that for years on their own. They can continue to deal with that.
So the guidance counselors and all the things would remain, everything is the same there.
Everything is the same. My officer would just be wandering the halls and checking doors and going to safety meetings and stopping a threat if, God forbid, it ever happened or attempting to.
An armed officer with what kind of?
An armed officer.
What kind of weaponry would be, what kind of weaponry would the kids see?
The kids will see a sidearm like I have on my hip right now, which they see all the time anyway. My preference is the officer will have a long-range weapon also, which will be probably a folded AR-15 of some sort. That will be probably kept in a backpack or in a locker.
Is there security cameras already at the school?
I don't know on the Owego school what is there. I know the school over here has cameras.
It's almost becoming the norm in all schools,
I would assume they do, probably.
Is the officer monitoring those cameras?
I don't know how the school's gonna set that up. In the high school, yes, you can monitor some of the cameras.
If you remember Columbine, they were on camera shooting. So cameras don't stop things from happening.
Well, would the officers be patrolling the grounds around the school?
I'm sure they'll be
At the time
outside on the
too?
grounds and
Yeah.
that stuff also. And we haven't worked out all the details until once I get permission or don't permission, not permission, then we'll go from there.
I think it helps build somewhat of a relationship too, that, the kids see a police officer and think, get to know them, that guy's not so bad. My kid goes up and says, hi.
Yeah, I saw them today when I was at the elementary school.
Rusty?
Trying real hard not to talk today, but I can't stop myself. Nate, I need to know if it is street legal for us to have our employed officer out of our village in Appalachian. Is that legal? Can we do it? Not the liability piece, the legal piece.
Yeah, it's just like having an agreement to provide security with, let's say, Watkins Glen International Speedway when they have a race there. I think some of our officers end up heading out there, or the Endicott PD comes and helps out for Strawberry Fest or any number of situations like that. It's not unusual for police officers to provide police type security services outside of their jurisdiction.
And it won't be a problem if this is a contract for all the time, and that'll be okay.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Well, it is called Owego Appalachian School District.
For the last, 2 years? 3 years? Our
Or
contract,
expand and make it town of Owego PD.
our contract's been with the school district anyway, not with that specific school.
One piece. So, if we approve something here, it's going to need a bunch of contingencies because we don't have, it's going to be contingent on, you're buying us these cars, you're paying us this money. It's going to be contingent on the contract having all the things.
Right,
that
well,
we
even if
expect
the
to
car thing doesn't come into effect, the guys will drive their own cars from their house to the school.
That'd just be nice to have cars.
So that was the original proposal, and then I asked for the 2 cars, which he agreed to.
Yeah, the school district knows we don't have cars to give them.
Then we want that to be part of it. We want that to be part of the contract. I'm just saying, we want all the, we don't know that they will approve all these conditions. We want this, our approval needs to be contingent if they approve these conditions. In my opinion.
Chief, do you know when the school board meets next?
No, negotiate.
I'm sorry?
Do you know when the school board meets next?
They meet Mondays. I don't know which Monday.
The reason I ask, right, is that this contract requires, just like your approval, it requires the school board's approval.
Right.
And so, at the end of the day, depending on when their approval happens, what we don't have right now is a written contract. We do not have a written contract that reflects all of these terms and conditions. And so, from my perspective, I don't have any issue with you folks saying tonight, yeah, Chief, this sounds agreeable. Continue discussions. Let's get a written contract, a final offer and proposal together, and then let's vote on that instead of having a motion that has 10 different things together. Now, I also know that the chief needs to hire people. And so, depending on how.
School board meeting is after school starts, I think.
Yeah, so really, the school board needs to hold a special meeting before school starts if they really want this to happen. And I would also suggest that, I hate doing it, but that the village board hold a special meeting scheduled, in another week or two to vote on the specific contract and hiring of these folks, just to, to Rusty's point, to make sure that the contract actually has in it everything that, has been discussed and fleshed out.
Yes, and this is time sensitive. School starting, they want this to happen before school starts. So we would probably, if we are going to do it, we would probably need a special meeting because we're not going to have one until the 8th of September or something.
Yeah, next week, then I'll be on vacation after that.
So the governor did just extend the remote meeting authorization for all municipal governments until September 12th. And so you can hold a meeting remotely if that makes it easier or helps for you folks.
You can't get away, Ron. They'll be calling you.
Be at the beach with the dolphins.
Yeah, you can come to Boston if you want to sit in my hotel room.
No, the
It'll be
governor's
open for all of you.
The governor's
Oh,
thinking
well,
it's.
Yankee
I
hat.
don't need to do that. Rusty?
We wanted, well, assuming again that we decide that we want to do this, we want to do this. It is going to be a degree of burden upon us. So I'm going to make the suggestion, the chief's already spoken to the superintendent. The superintendent is possibly, or for certainly, willing to supply us with 2 cars. I don't think we should say no cars. I think we should, because getting our guys there, this is all expensive stuff.
In today's world, though, timing to get the police car that we're getting for ourselves that came with the state, the SAMS grant, it's been over a year
To get it.
to get it. So I'm hoping that there's more orders for those type of cars that are coming in, but we still haven't got our.
Just getting a car in general is hard enough for yourself.
Make your own fob, you do.
But I'm advocating for us not to be negotiating against ourselves and say, oh, no, we don't want to ask him for the car. No, we absolutely, that's an expensive thing, and that's something we should, if he,
He's got approved.
and he's already said that he's willing to do it, so we should not say, let's not do that. We should do that.
We just put in there, they'll provide the cars and whatever.
Right.
I don't want to word it.
For the 2 schools, not for the high school.
Right, 2 cars, for 2 of the officers or something like that.
So how are we gonna word this? If we're interested in doing it, how are we gonna word
What
it?
do we already have?
We have a motion. How are we
What the
gonna word it?
motion say?
The motion is,
Good
I don't
question.
remember.
2 or 3?
So they hired 2 officers, yes, hire officers. The $50,000 per officer. And then he started going.
we were talking about we're talking about all the conditions with the school, which we can't really do at this moment. We need to negotiate the contract.
And then so then you went from officer, then you went into all kinds of.
Right.
No, it's like.
Do we want to vote to give the mayor and or the chief and or the mayor, both the authority to negotiate this contract with the school district?
No, we can do that, I guess that would save a meeting, right, Nate? Make a contingent on me, the chief and Nate.
Negotiating the terms of.
Details or whatever.
How do we want to say it, Nate?
So, golly, I think that ultimately the big piece of it is the hiring of officers at the $42,000 piece. I mean, we don't have a written contract from the school district yet for the $50,000 a year. You know, the real action item right now is the hiring of those officers. So the motion to approve, I mean, the hiring of 2
Did
additional
I hire the one officer, Nate, as a part-time officer tonight, and then we move him to the position of SRO at the school rate at a later date?
Yeah, right, because part-time officers, you can let go. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but if things don't pan out, you can terminate those part-time officers at any point. And so I think you just hire the officers tonight. And that's really all that the motion would need to be. And then whether
The other one would be with our guys that we already have until, I have time for the second.
So we would then hire this particular officer, the name that you have tonight.
Or at least, yes, at least give me permission to.
Permission to hire him.
Because then, so then we could actually approve that contract. Next board meeting is probably the day before school starts.
Is it the 8th or the 9th?
It's going to be the 6th.
6th.
Which is the day after Labor Day, and school usually starts on a Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday.
We might very well want to have a special meeting.
I'm gonna be out of town that day, but I can come online.
But I'm just saying for a full contract.
I would trust the chief and Mike to make a decision for us. They know what we're asking.
That's the contract part. Would you withdraw your motion? Laura, would you withdraw your motion?
Ron made the motion.
Ron, would you withdraw your motion?
You don't talk, you don't pay attention.
I know,
Would I do that?
so we can make a different
I
motion.
just want to hear him talk.
Hey, I don't want to talk.
I withdraw my motion.
Charles said
Move that we, what's his name?
Ben Hettinger.
Move that we hire Ben Hettinger as a part-time police officer. No benefits, $42,000 a year, starting police chief's discretion between now and the middle of September.
Part-time, do we have to do per hour?
Has to be per hour,
I don't know if it has.
42,000 a year?
Does it have to be per hour?
We move him into that position, where we have raised that when we do that.
Is it,
What's that?
give me a pen.
I don't know how that works. How many hours do people work in school?
Mayor, are you pretty sure that it has to be per hour?
I'm not sure, though, because
Nate?
civil service, I don't know if we call it part-time.
I think if you say the $42,000 a year, I mean, part-time or not, if that's what you're paying them, that's what they're making.
Let's say that. You got that ready?
Come out to about $29 an hour.
No, let's say the 42.
Spells me.
Hettinger, H-E-T-T-I-N-G-E-R.
H-E-T-T-I-N-G-E-R. What's his first name?
Ben.
So you got it, do you have that ready?
Is he gonna be an SRO officer or just?
He's getting hired as a
In the future.
part-time police
Right now,
officer.
like, part-time police officer, and then we'll move
Well,
to
if we-
position of SRO.
If we make
contingent on
the contract and the SRO, we'll make him
Yeah,
the
we'll have
SRO.
a contract, yeah.
Right now, he's a part-time police officer.
That way we got,
He's not gonna start until Joe has him start, and if we don't do the thing, he'll never start, et cetera, et cetera.
So here's the only issue.
Oh, no, Joe.
Well, I don't wanna bring up issues, but he's got another job right now that he's leaving to come and do this, so. I mean, I know by the conversations with me and Corey, this is happening, we'll work out the contract, I know the numbers, I know other things. School boards, already on board, so. I'm fine, it'll be fine.
you know,
That's one of the particulars I would like to second
Oh, I thought we already had a second, sorry.
that. We had to withdraw that.
Stop talking, you would shut up.
Okay.
So this motion is just to hire, this motion is just to hire the police officer.
Do I put down no benefits and no?
I said that.
Benefits.
I said no benefits.
Let's vote on that, just hiring the guy. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Don't have to vote for it.
No.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
Do we need a motion to have you and Joe negotiate a contract with it?
That's up to you guys, if you wanna do that, or if you wanna
Yeah.
have another meeting.
It would make it
What you
easy.
guys-
Well, you're gonna negotiate the contract, but then we're still gonna have to pass it.
Right.
Yeah, so
Do you need a,
if the mayor, myself, and Nate could do that, I'd be happy.
do we need a motion to do that, or are you guys just gonna do it?
That's a big question. Do we need a motion for that, Nate? To work on a
Probably.
contract?
Yes.
Move that the mayor and the police chief and the attorney negotiate a contract with the Owego Appalachian Central School District for the village supplying SRO service.
We'll have an amendment to the contract. We already actually have a contract.
Well, fine, contract.
An amendment, a contract and or amendment
So there'll really be an amendment to the contract we already have. All right, we'll vote on that. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Yes. And should we set any other board meetings, special meetings?
We did the authorization to negotiate the contract, we don't need to vote on it, do we?
We'll need to pass the contract.
Yeah.
We'll need to pass the contract before school. Or
Probably.
can we put those people in those positions before the contract's technically approved?
That's me. I mean, I could send my part-time guys over there right now. I mean, we're doing,
That's what I
the
mean.
SRO goes over there now, so.
Right, Nate?
Sorry, I didn't actually hear the specific question.
Do we need a board meeting to pass that contract before school starts, or does that part-time police officer just work as a police officer and the chief assigns them there for a day or something?
I think what the chief said is correct. He could assign them, where he assigns them is up to him. If the board takes issue with where the chief assigns people, then that's the chief's issue, not necessarily the school's issue. So I'm okay with that.
I think our next meeting is like before school. We'll have in writing figured out by then, for sure.
Next, a couple more things then, or are we moving on?
Well, you're all yours, so.
We had talked in the past about a vehicle for us, we call it a school car or a, undercover car or a transportation car that is not a marked police car. I am looking at a 2022, and we have money in the budget for it, at least partially. The 2022 Hyundai Tucson hybrid. So taking into consideration gas mileage. Right now, we're sending 2 guys to the academy, and one of our vehicles that don't get that low gas mileage to Elmira every day. So I put out a mini bid, which I can cancel if I need to, but there is a vehicle that they have acquired that they're holding for our approval, your approval, for it's $34,000 and change.
You said that's already in your budget.
So there's usually $20,000 reserved in my budget for a police car. Last year we put another 20 in, and then there was some money, I don't know how. Go ahead, Russ.
Oh, we took $20,000 that we were gonna put in this year out of the budget, and we said, when we need to buy the car, we will use ARPA money instead of the 20,000 in our budget to fill out however much more we need for the car. So I would assume if we were gonna buy this car for around $35,000, we would spend the 20 that we held over and 15 from the ARPA money as we had anticipated.
We had 18,000 in there, but I thought we had a car purchase. You still had $19,000 in your car purchase line from this current year, which ends, will end in
So
a week ago.
a week ago, yeah.
Yeah.
But we still have that money.
Then there should be a reserve money also,
So
correct?
yeah, you got 19,000 there and 18,000 in your reserve, although that actually went into your reserve, so it makes it hard for you.
Got 23,000.
So you guys will just have to buy it.
Because you're a week too late, you went in the reserve.
The 19 went into the reserve?
The 18 should have been. The 19 is still there.
So 18.
We just had that in a regular budget as a line item.
So the other benefit to this vehicle too is it's gonna be unmarked, and that it is a hybrid, it's gonna get probably 38 or 39 miles per gallon. The village could also use it for when you go to NICOM meetings or other meetings like that, it could be available for that. If it has any lights at all or anything, it'll be hidden there. Whatever, so it won't be a specific police vehicle.
Is it Tucson an SUV?
It is a small SUV, yes. I guess it's considered mid-size, but it's pretty small.
So we've got 19,000 from this last year we didn't use. Plus, yeah, we committed 20,000 this year, which we said would be our goal.
Chief, price again?
I think the mini bid came back, I'm still waiting for them to accept it, but I think it's at 34 and change, just under 35,000.
So I move that we purchase 2022 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid on bid for up to $35,000, paid for with $19,000 from current budget for police car and the remainder from ARPA.
Second.
So what happens with the money that went into reserve? Why can't that be taken out?
It can, but we have to have a public hearing and it's like a 2-month process. 3-month
Kind of
process.
like when I wanted money to fix the Main Street sewer line.
We've got enough money that we don't need to tap into
Okay.
that.
And we don't have any other police reserve, so
So
that's.
the reserve is for the police department?
Yeah,
They have one, everybody's got one. DPW.
Okay.
and it's for buying cars.
And my understanding is for buying cars, which would be at some point, we're gonna probably,
We'll be using it soon.
that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you got some cars that are on their last leg. All right, so we'll vote on this little SUV. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
What else, what else you need?
Next, I would like to set up an account, get permission to set up an account with Auctions International. We can, basically like you guys going to Manassas, only we're opening up to the entire world. The cars that I bought from Vestal before for 16,000 were going on there for 18 to 20,000, and now they would probably, we're having some issues with a couple of them, we repaired. Those vehicles, they're still good running vehicles, but they'll probably go on that auction site for over 20 grand now, so we'll actually make money on the cars I purchased 2 years ago. So I'd like, I wouldn't put anything on there without letting you guys know, but we have our old unmarked car that the windows won't go up, the doors, handles won't operate, and the expense of fixing that, which is why I'm gonna ask for the other car, I just did. So vehicles like that and other municipality vehicles can be put on that site. You can put reserve bids on it, you can decline the bids, you can, and it's I don't think there's a premium to us, the premium goes to the buyer, so I don't think it costs us anything. So I'd just like permission to set that up if we could.
What's the name of the group?
It's Auctions International.
Is there a price?
They're the ones out of Cortland?
Is there a price associated?
They're always
with
in
it?
cost
us.
Okay.
Cost the people
Yeah, I
to
know,
buy
I
it.
remember.
No, do we have to pay to be in it?
No.
Set up an account.
Okay. And then,
Others,
DPW doesn't already have a account?
No, they
I
don't.
don't think
so they can, they could use this also, and the sewer could use this also.
Yeah, yes, they would be.
Like last time, didn't they set it up that way?
You
Yeah, we use the
share with
local.
those
I
other
would
guys?
be willing to share, I share.
Is that a good idea, Mike?
I think so, yeah.
Move we allow the police department to set up an account with Auctions International.
One second.
Any discussion on that?
So that would allow us to be a buyer as well if we proceed to go that route, if we needed
So
something.
anybody can be a buyer.
Oh,
I wanna say we bought stuff off of there before, like through the fire department.
I know, I've seen that in Icon.
It might be where Jimmy bought something.
I think so.
Alright, Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Anything else?
Couple other little things. National Night Out was a huge success. A lot of people showed up. It's a great time. Huge community involvement. The mayor cooked again.
They did. Anybody sick? I
don't think anybody complained.
And you did a great job organizing it all.
Thank you.
Amazing.
It was a tremendous amount of work for 3 hours worth of.
Yeah.
The public got to dunk the officers, and my guys, I even sat in the dunk tank, so my guys got an opportunity to dunk me.
How long was that list?
Rusty?
We're gonna move that we allow the police department to have a bonfire evening, a la last year. this isn't gonna be the motion yet, I'll blather it, we'll get the motions in.
7th, Friday,
When is it gonna be?
Friday, October 7th.
And once I make the motion, I'll have that, we won't be able to talk about Friday, October 7th, and we're going to allow them to use the Marvin Park permit-free and park cars as they see fit.
The community seems to be having a great time at these events.
For other first responders, right?
It'll be the same kind
The one I do in October is actually Village of Owego Appreciation Night is what we call it, so this will be the second annual.
Yeah.
We've already got several donations for the materials for the bonfire, we've got money donations for other things that are gonna be going on.
That would be a good time, another nut booth.
Maybe for certain officers.
of. Be nice and chilly.
Could be a little cold
We could do a
by
village board night. And the next and last thing is.
We gotta do that.
Oh, sorry, Rusty.
Did somebody second that?
I'll second.
Vote on that, Rusty,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Brandon,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
and yes.
So the last thing is, Officer Larry Vanek's dog Tara, who worked for us, passed away this morning. And she is considered an officer, so we will be wearing mourning bands for the next 30 days. And I don't know if I need your permission to lower the flag at half-staff, but we did that today, same as we would for an officer, so. I just wanted to, there probably will be something going on, but I'm not sure yet, but I'll inform you guys when there is.
Did you tell her?
She is credited with over, between here and Endicott, well over 900 arrests. She was a very, very, very good police dog. Non-white dog, passive alert, drug dog, and tracking dog.
What was her name again, Joe?
Tara.
So is this in the line or natural causes?
Natural causes,
She was a nice dog. She was old.
yes. Assault, bank robberies, and all kinds of stuff. If you go on the Southern Tier Canine Association site, you can see all the stuff that she was taking in Endicott before she came here.
My wife actually just sent me a thing.
Yeah, we'll share that on the village site too, and some other stuff here probably.
The Southern Tier Canine Association did a big write-up while we were at the meeting here. Has a lot of accomplishments. Rusty?
Is there something we do on this kind of stuff? Do we send a card? Do we put something, I know that flags happen. Is there anything else we do for this kind of thing?
Official decree.
Sometimes we do something at the fire station, on the fire station sign, maybe something on that.
So maybe.
Yeah, that would be nice.
The new American Legion sign, we put it on there.
Yeah, the fire department should buy that.
But, yeah, let's ask the fire chief if he put something on the fire department sign.
Yeah, we should do something.
And anything else that we do, I don't know, Rodney, if we do anything.
And that's all I have.
You share.
Sorry, I know I'm usually quiet or not here.
Let's see, for 6 months and 9
I have a lot more I could tell you that, but
6 months.
I want to spread it out a little bit.
Got a 6-month backlog for us. That's okay. That's all you got, 6 months. That's pretty good. Anybody else have anything?
No, our grant there,
Joe?
for the building.
Yeah, I guess.
We're gonna sign that and move forward, at least on something for the windows maybe.
I've been working with Brittany.
I'm sure it'll take forever to.
We have that all approved, like a million years ago, I got,
I'd like to get it done before the winter time, so they do it, clean up the draft upstairs.
at least the window. Working. Signing the agreement tomorrow.
You can find workers and products, that's always an issue lately.
I know. Get stuff done is the problem. Alright, next thing is the treasurer's report. I didn't do my analysis yet because I'm waiting to get some tentative last year numbers finalized. So I'll figure out exactly how we came out, but it looks pretty good. I was gonna say EMS finished the year about 200, what was that? $265,000 ahead.
What? Say that again, I'm sorry?
265?
As long as everything is in there, you know, I mean,
There's
sometimes
no problem with buying another ambulance.
there's just some catch up stuff and whatever, but
And,
it looks
and
pretty
we'll,
good.
that's wonderful, and we'll spend every penny.
And I can tell you there's,
We'll be spending every penny for, because you know what kind of shape those ambulances are.
$290,000 in their savings account.
Excellent.
So they're very healthy, which is good.
Did you want to approve the treasurer's report, or are we going to put it off?
Oh, we can approve it, yeah.
Move to approve.
I second.
Any discussion on it? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Okay, minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of August the 1st as presented.
Did you have one thing in there? Was there one change for you?
There was a date change that was corrected.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's been corrected.
So we have a second.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the minutes? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Trustee reports. Rusty?
No report.
Laura?
No report.
Brown?
Yes, I do.
Good.
I had one of the local skateboarders reach out and ask about orange barriers in Marvin Park they use for kind of like the Jersey barriers, but made out of plastic. Want to know if they could have one donated to the skate park, but they're really good for skateboarding, I guess.
Oh, so actually the police department will let the historic Owego marketplace bought those for us. And they're pretty cheap, those
Well,
barriers.
Yes, I forget exactly how much they were. We had bought 4 the year before, and then they bought us 2 or 4 more. I'm sorry, I was not the part of your.
Like $1,000 a piece, I think, right?
I think they're a little less than that, but close.
You said
How are they going to use them, man?
Oh, really? They do tricks and ride across? I don't know. I'm not a skateboarder.
But you fill them with water, right? Put 'em out
Yes,
in
because
the
they're
water.
very easy to move when they're not filled.
But yeah, he noticed them in Marvin Park, so he reached out to me and I told him I would ask and see if it would be a possibility.
Yeah, they use them for the fair.
Yeah, they jump on them and grind across. Do the same thing on cement, but they're more,
I believe that.
I would.
But that's a good idea. I mean,
Great
it's a
idea
cheap.
for the DRI project.
Yeah.
Specifically for that, I think it's a great idea for the money that's already, going to that park to maybe get that.
That'd be great down the road, but this is something that'll keep these guys happy in the immediate.
Until
I
next
don't know if
month.
we can bill it to that later on. If
Stick
we,
one over there. I mean, we could probably find $1,000.
because I can't imagine that skate park will be built for another 2 years.
Give them something to be happy about.
Mm.
I agree with.
I think it's a small token to,
Because they used the park, it's just dilapidated over there. I mean, it's.
Give them a new toy.
Yeah, give them a new toy, play with. They do use it.
Plastic.
the other thing was, about 2 years ago, somebody had approached and asked about a stop sign on Academy in front. By the DMV building. I go through there a lot. I've really been watching it over the past couple of years, and I don't think it'd be a bad idea to solicit the state to do a study there to maybe get a 3-way stop. I don't want every street, but I think that one, there's a lot of speeding traffic that tries to beat it down to the gas station.
Oh, instead of the light.
No, doing Front Street.
Academy in front?
Front and Academy.
Yeah. There's nothing there.
Just a stop sign.
There's just the one stop sign on Academy.
Do you want to
going
make
in
it a
front.
3-way stop, you're saying?
That's what I would prefer. I mean, I don't, obviously, that's a state road, I believe, that far, or is it not?
No, not down there.
I mean, obviously, I would like the police officers' input, but I see a lot of people trying to take advantage of the long stretch. And it is sometimes difficult to see getting out of there both ways.
Okay.
So just food for thought.
That's a good idea.
And I had one other question about the use of village property without permission, specifically Draper Park during the Porch Fest. I mean, we were approached for the courthouse lawn, and I just felt that that was probably an error in judgment, but I would appreciate if entities would consult us if they're gonna use village property.
Do they use Draper's or Mayor's Park?
Use Mayor's Park.
Mayor's,
That's the one
Instead of Barley.
by the Barley.
I didn't go, so I don't know. I
It's
saw it on
called the Lava
Facebook.
Park or something.
Yeah, just, there seems to be a trend of people asking for forgiveness rather than permission lately, and I'd really like to stop that, so we can all work together in a common goal.
Yeah, because they did ask us about the courthouse.
Yeah, well, part of the
They
problem
moved
is
it over
that was only planned like a month ahead of time. They didn't really put a lot of
Yeah, there's
Right.
a couple of
pre-work into it.
That's all I've got.
I have something related if I could. I would like to motion that we have organizations that ask us for parade permits for these things, or to rent out the parks, that they supply us their insurance liability certificate and indemnification, like 21 days ahead of the event, so that way we know where the event is happening, the date, there's time for the officers to organize their schedules. And so I think if we know that, if we have like that cutoff date that they've got their insurance together, that will 21 days ahead of an event, that would be a pretty comfortable time for us to have, I think we've been asking at least 30 days ahead of time. And so if they have their insurance certificate in at least 21 days ahead of time, that could be an
Well, so
insurance for us.
we've been kicking around this idea of a mass gathering permit. Should we just fully ask Nate to do that? I know there's some examples out there, right, Nate? Yeah.
We did circulate a mass gathering, local law, year or two ago. One of the things that I've actually run into with some other clients of mine is that certain entities, like the Department of Health, for example, do not issue their final authorizations until like hours before the event. And so, I think Laura, really good idea. Here's the timeline. We want it well in advance. The thing I would want to know is whether that's really feasible from the industry standpoint. Can an insurance company issue a certificate of insurance, showing evidence of the policy that far in advance when they don't even likely have some of the county or state approvals that they need?
Thing that we continually put off, and we're going to put it off some more because we can't do that like this, is to do about three things. One would be come up with a mass gathering, change our methodology for parade permit, and have a parade permit separate from an event permit. So we need to come up with all that stuff. We need to start working on that, not necessarily tonight, but we need to do all that and come up with these details.
Well, I guess Nate was already working on the mass gathering stuff, so maybe we can kick that hornet's nest back up and get it going again.
I wouldn't mind bringing that mass gathering permit back up, but I would like to maybe just have something put in place now that says, if Nate says that maybe they couldn't do it 21 days ahead of time, something that is a fail-safe that if they don't supply insurance, that they don't have the event. So say the Porch Fest, if they fail to put insurance on that event, and they had it, we all just assumed they had insurance. But here they operated on village parks and stuff without sending us any certificates or saying that they wanted use of that park. And upcoming is a farmer's market, and they don't have insurance for that, but they could in the meantime. But so if I just think that there should be something that the village an action for the village that says, they need to have insurance before they have an event on our property.
Staying, doesn't any food vending or anything, they have to carry their own insurance anyway? I mean, I know if I've been somewhere, I have to prove my $1 million coverage. I imagine that would be the same for farmers markets?
There's additional insurance they have to buy.
No, that's covered from the vendor.
So Ron, I think, right, good question that you just had. Don't these people have to show proof of insurance? And I can't tell you which client it was, but recently there was a fairly large music festival that did not receive county permits. And they didn't get them until the very end. Or they never got them actually. But whether they would get them or not came down to the very end of like the deadline. The people were already camping and doing stuff. And so typically what we usually do is just have these as contingencies. The permit is approved, and here's the conditions. You will provide us this particular proof of insurance or this permit or whatever it might be so many hours before the event is scheduled to begin. If they do not provide you those items, then it's up to your police department and code enforcement office to issue them notices of violation, to basically put a stop work or stop the event from continuing if they've not provided those things. So it will end up being an enforcement issue. I think the board condition issue is easy. Just when you issue the condition, whether it's a permit for a parade or some other special event, you just say, you need to get us proof of these approvals, a day, 24 hours in advance of the commencement of the whatever the thing is.
Because we almost always make these events contingent on all the state and et cetera approvals. So Laura is trying to find a time frame, et cetera, I don't know.
I want the time frame because it makes us look like the bad guy. If we're like, no, break it up, get out of here, you didn't do it right. Nobody's gonna care about that. They're gonna see us as the ones who ruined this event. So, I mean, we need these safety nets.
Actually, they're gonna blame it all on me.
Yeah.
No, it's
Well,
really-
yeah, it'll be somehow be my fault.
Yeah, how come the pool's not open?
That's right.
So,
Why don't you make a proposal?
would 24 hours or 48 hours? I'd be happy with 48 hours just for canceling sort of, if they're gonna get the news.
What would be ideal for you, Chief Kennedy? I mean,
Well, it all depends on what kind of event it is, how large it is, if we have to schedule like a large contingent of off-duty officers to be there or something, then the sooner the better. But I understand that Nate's thing, just with my little event down there, by the time I got the food permit, which partially was my fault, not theirs, but they did get it to me pretty quickly, but it was a day or two before, so.
So I understand what you're thinking, but we're trying right here on the go, right this very second, to figure out 25 different events and what the time would be and all that. This just doesn't seem like something that we can do right this.
I guess I don't know what a realistic time is.
Well, she's
If
just
we
saying
could talk
insurance,
insurance.
we're talking about insurance.
I want them to, I'll just motion that we require the insurance information be submitted into the office at least 24 hours ahead of the event. For these events that have, for the parade permits that, for parade permits that include street or park closures or rentals for usage.
But none of these things
Okay,
are
you're
that.
saying streets, what about
Is
our
that
parks?
a motion?
I mentioned parks. Our streets, our parks.
I'm seconding a motion so that we can discuss. But whatever the motion, are you done with the motion?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just seconding it so the discussion can happen. Has to be seconded.
I don't know, I think that's got problems because then every event that you rent a pavilion in a park, you have to have insurance.
We do have some policies already in effect, so, I mean, we do require people to have insurance. We're maybe not making sure that we have their certificates before the event happens, but I would like us to have this so that we do have that.
I'm just even at a birthday party, you got.
The motion said street closures, and so it wouldn't be the farmer's market because we didn't close any streets, and it wouldn't be Draper Park during the Porter Fest because we didn't close any streets.
The village parks, the streets and the parks, I mentioned, the closures for the streets and rentals of the parks and streets.
So park closure or usage? Park closure or usage?
Yeah, the parks closure or usage or rentals for the streets or the parks.
As long as it.
Well, if we're talking about the insurance, I really think it should be further, out than that, the 24 hours, because if we're making plans to have emergency services there, they need to schedule more than 24 hours ahead of time.
Well, they'll be scheduled ahead of time, but we just won't have any proof of insurance, and if that doesn't happen, then none of that happens. We can't keep putting ourselves out there as a liability.
No.
I don't know what a realistic timeline to get insurance is.
That
Not insurance.
I always have mine handy, so.
I don't think a 24-hour before the event is, I think that's very lenient.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, I think it should be earlier than that. Like you said, 21 days before.
I don't know what a realistic number is.
Maybe 10 days.
So just to weigh in real quick, right? This is a policy. You can change it at any time. Whether 24 hours or 21 days is the right number. I would ask your insurance agent, what is a typical turnaround time for an event to request a specific policy of insurance covering something like whatever they're trying to do, and base your final decision off of whatever that insurance agent tells you.
For the events like this, in the past, all you need to do is call your insurance agent or email them, and they just issue the paper by email. Just like, it's something that happens with Strawberry Fest and Lights on the River. It's just something that they didn't do for recent events. It wasn't anything that costed anybody anything. It was just a lack of doing the process.
Right, and that's why if it can happen that quickly, then many times details of a final event aren't finalized until relatively close to the start date of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to have, 30 days, 45 days before an event, get us this information, but the reality is many institutions, other agencies and things don't issue their final approvals until hours, minutes, a day or two before an event. So I'm okay with whatever you folks end up doing. You can't always change it. This is just a policy. It's very easy for you to amend it.
You should make it 24 hours on events that the board deems needs to have a insurance certificate instead of blanketing. No, my name's here, but instead of birthday parties and.
No, it would have, she's only talking about insurance certificate.
Yeah.
Right.
So it would only be something that has to have insurance.
Right.
A homeowner's insurance covers the rentals in the parks and stuff, so it wouldn't be anything that would do, like, it's not a park closure, like an event. All right, so the motion that I made was for a 24-hour notice for streets and parks that have events and usages under the parade or event application. and that was seconded. So I would just like to stick with that, because we can always just change it.
Okay. Which I think that's supposed to happen anyway, that might just be a procedure thing that Brad doesn't know, or
That's our current procedure. Do we have one as far as time?
it's on that parade.
I mean, because this whole thing, we're just got this because nobody ever came to us. So there would be no insurance, so
Well,
that's a whole different issue.
they do it for, they've done it for other events, it's just for the future,
Yeah,
we
I
make
think-
sure.
I think that was something Jeff kind of made sure we had a copy of.
Right, but that's not addressing the current issue. They did what they wanted, the hell with the consequences,
Right.
which is a problem. Without rules, there's anarchy. And we do not need anarchy in our little village. I do agree with the intro, we definitely need time, but I think that's apples and oranges at this point.
Pick a time, we can change the time.
Yeah. I don't- 24, 38.
Okay.
Rusty back. Where Rusty, we're voting.
So the vote is for 24.
Yeah, we can change, modify the time if we need to eventually.
So I didn't get to.
When we wrap it up, or you wanted to
No,
say something
no, I
about it?
just wanted the last part. I'll vote for it, but then I just, there's a whole bunch of stuff I think that we just need to figure it out and think about it. So 24 hours ahead, or whatever we do. Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
Yes. Anything else?
Have insurance in by
Laura?
No, thank you.
Ron?
Do I have anything to tell this gentleman about these barriers? So I can reach back out to him?
I don't see why we can't get them. Just might be able to find $1,000 somewhere, right? Or $800, whatever they cost.
We're looking at it.
I don't want to destroy one of the ones we got.
Right.
We're looking at it.
Plastic.
These are the plastic ones.
That's what they use in concrete, but that's in one.
Well, we got in front of the building and we want to put a guardrail there because these concrete ones take up too
I
much.
can't even ask him if he concrete, I don't.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not a skateboarder,
Concrete.
it's just what he
Because
has.
we've got,
Together to break the plastic.
Concrete is definitely less likely to disappear.
Traditionally,
Those,
concrete.
yeah, if we're gonna do something with those, we're gonna get rid of those can go.
Wasn't
It's
there
basically the same
some
thing.
as a box out for mulch and stuff?
I know he's gonna get something different, I think. Concrete.
But yeah, I'll reach back out there with that.
Yeah.
we might have some extra.
You take a picture of those.
So the same thing.
Or-
Right. I'll take pictures. Send it to him.
I think they break the plastic ones.
Yeah.
Plastic.
That's what I'm thinking too, it's plastic.
They were-
After a while, it gets wear and tear. That's what
It's fine. I don't, like I said, I-
And they get weighted down by water.
Well, what if they drain the water, take it with them?
Do what?
Yeah, you can sell them.
Anyway, I digress.
But anyway, concrete might be.
I will reach out, that's what I want to discuss.
We want to put a guardrail there because if you park there, it's pretty hard.
You have a way to get it there if that is okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway.
I'm not picking them up.
No, no,
Get the guns, let's go.
that's right.
I'm about 2 inches off the ground.
It's not that far over the park. All right, anything else?
Not good, nothing else.
Fran?
Well, in addition, and we're talking about, park usage. I really think, I don't know who would do it, but we need to sit down and come up with, fees and other stipulations for the different park usages so that we have something to go by. The different types of programs, whether it be, local, volunteer programs or commercial programs and so on. We need it. I mean, I'm not gonna do it tonight, but I really need to get that done. Okay, the only report I have is, for the cemetery committee. Peter Gordon, through the Friends of Owego Evergreen, did get, the Mildred Faulkner Truman grant for $10,000. That is specifically to be used for parking area next to the cemetery chapel. Okay, so we're gonna, Peter and I are gonna talk with Fred about it, find out, but that's good news, we got that $10,000 grant.
I missed the part, you said it's gonna go to the parking area next to the, next to Sasana Loft and,
No, I
or
said
no,
no.
just the chapel parking lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Who do you get the grant from? Mildred?
Mildred Faulkner Truman.
So that's going to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
So I can park there now.
Yeah,
Up
the
that
chapel.
hill. Perfect.
There's only one chapel there for the cemetery.
I don't know what the buildings up there are.
Well, there's the caretaker's cottage and there's the gazebo.
I would really enjoy being able to park in the bottom and walk up that long.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the idea. We purchased that land that was,
Burned down a house.
where we tore that house down and burned. And so, yeah, we wanna, grade that out and et cetera. Make a parking.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all for tonight.
Charles, you got?
I missed Porch Fest. I don't know how it went. I was looking online to see if I could find out anybody's pictures, anything. I couldn't find anything. I spent all my days at Speedy Fest, and that was one of the days. The fair, I think it went on pretty good. I was there every morning, my wife and I, we had a booth there, so we were able to see how everybody's set up. And all the volunteers, I want to thank all the volunteers, Jim Morris and his crew, they were really good, making sure everybody was where they were supposed to be, parked where they were supposed to be, and everything. And special thanks to OPD because there was talk of a big brawl to rival the one that happened last year, 30 people. But that never materialized because OPD had their officers strategically positioned around the park. It was always a step ahead of anything that was going to jump off. So I watched that take place. It was, people turned out for the events. It was good spirits out there. They had the rodeo, they had the 2 events for demolition derby. Didn't understand the wrestling thing. But it was all good. Tractor pull, interesting. Having based all that diesel fuel with gas prices the way they are. Understand that. Yeah. So yeah, it was all good. Being a part of it, this is the first year I was actually a part of the whole thing. So I was able to see the whole process and prices of food out there, see how they make their money.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we did pretty good with what we were selling. And then you made a question about the insurance. But I think what happens is people who sell spots for vendors, I think they are in charge of the insurance for that, and they have to make sure they have to approve whatever a vendor is selling. So they don't fall under the umbrella. Each vendor has to pay insurance. We just have to make sure we follow the guidelines. I think that's how it goes. So, but yeah, that's all I got. It was just a great time. It was good to see the village come together and have some fun. Good weather.
Yeah, no, the fair would not happen without all the volunteers from the village.
Right. Yeah, the volunteers, they did a hell of a good job.
Yeah, that's how they kept looking for ticket sales, people.
I did that one time and Mayor Mike did too.
All day and night, one time. It's fun. Anything else?
That's it.
Communications, I got nothing. Mayor's reports, kind of like Charles, did the fair, sold tickets for 6 hours, 7 hours, one night, that was fun. So it was the first year one of the first years we ran it with OPD and the incident plan, and them doing all the security. Everything went great. No issues that I know of, so. Like Charles said, there was talk of a large brawl. Retaliation we were having in Broome County, and it didn't happen. So it was not like it happened.
They're gonna do it.
No, not when there's
You just act.
5 or 6 cops walking around
Yeah.
everywhere.
It was the head of the game all night.
I wouldn't wanna be tased.
I mean, the Home Central ribbon cutting for their showroom over there, that was one of the DRI projects finished up.
Second,
Maybe. So that's opened up. That's a nice place in there. What else? I went to Porch Fest. My observation, so I talked to Historic Owego Marketplace when I was there, who assured me that they had insurance on the whole deal. They always use Tri-Town, and we could always get policies from them. As people were standing in the street with traffic coming, I guess it was maybe a close call where a trailer ended up on a sidewalk. And so my suggestion, they seem to have it, at least the porch I saw, the house was very close to the road, where the van was actually almost basically on the sidewalk, and the people were in the street instead of like a house where it's set back and the people are in the yard. So if it grows, we're definitely gonna have to look at closing streets to do it safely. Because it could have been.
They do that in Binghamton.
It could have been
Some of
bad.
the side streets that get closed.
And I think it needs to not be in the 17C portion of Front Street.
Yeah, that's,
Because it
That's
worked
a
out
busy-
much better like over on Main Street where the houses are set back and it's a village street. There's not much traffic, it's going slower. Same speed limit, but people go slower. So anyway, that's my, just wandering around, observations. Other than that, it was hot. Oh my God, it was like 100 for that thing. So I had to stay long. Other than that, that's all I got. Public comment?
Well, I actually got some this time.
Oh, good.
Not much.
time's up, Mike.
I agree with Porch Fest. I come down Front Street and they're walking down the bike lane, walking across, like
Yeah.
Strawberry Festival, like the street's closed. Walking right out in front of traffic.
It's a nice event, it's a nice idea.
Yeah.
It was nice to see everybody out, but yeah, that street should have been closed.
But I have like a comment and a question. I noticed, I was on the village website. Planning board is listed on there and all the members of the planning board. Everybody's listed for the zoning board, but none of the names of the people on OHPC are on there.
Okay.
And I couldn't find the minutes for any of the meetings on there. Unless I was just looking in the wrong spot.
Might not have been. I'll check it.
And I didn't see any meeting minutes for OHPC on there.
I'll check into it, because so we switched websites too, so.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff didn't come over that we
That's
thought.
what I figured, because it took me longer to find the listings than
Yeah,
it used to.
yeah, that whole website actually was better.
That's about all I had.
Well, I know with the cemetery committee, our secretary submits a copy of that to Meg all the time, and that's not getting put on the website.
Yeah, I don't, Meg, so Meg, I don't think knows how to do it. Kim does.
Well, I don't know who's responsible for maintaining our website, but I'm just saying, the reports go in.
Nobody really, we have no IT. So it's a
Since you mentioned the cemetery,
combination of Kim and me that do it, so.
have they got any thoughts about maybe widening that road
Going up,
going up? Cause I was going up there one day with my truck and I'm thinking, if somebody starts coming down the other way,
yeah,
It's
well,
gonna
coming
break.
down.
really, most of the cemetery is one way.
somebody's gonna have to back up
There's
coming
one
down that
section
hill.
going up the hill, which can be, have a pull off, but it really is only one way.
in response to that, about the only thing we can do is there's about halfway up, there's a spot for 2 or 3 cars, we've talked about paving that so that people could at least pull over if you're part way up. But other than that,
There's like ditch on this side, guardrail on this side.
there is this flat spot there halfway up that we could do something with. Well, it's a thought.
Yeah.
Luckily, nobody was coming down.
But the rest of the cemetery does need to be, have one-way signs on all this.
Yeah, it should be one way around there.
Right.
I mean, going up, you kinda got an issue where you gotta get down somehow. But yeah, once you get up in there, it should be like one path around.
Around the back, on the woods, on the beacher. There's no other easy way out of there.
Depends on what point you start at. Then you do pass another car.
Need a water flume. Come down that way.
There you go.
Sell tickets.
Perfect.
Everything
And a traction.
like you done.
I'm done.
Anything else? You're good?
You know the motion.
Adjourn.
Till next time.
Right, Dave.
Good night.
See you later.
Right.